I want to get us started with a little opening scenario that I'm sure a lot of the people who are watching this video are going to find quite relatable. And I want you to picture this. You're sitting in your house, you're talking to a friend or a relative about how much you need, let's say, a new wallet, for example. Your old one doesn't work anymore and you just need a new one. Well, a couple hours later, you find yourself scrolling through Instagram until you notice there is a lot of ads for wallets. And you think to yourself, well, this is weird. I haven't really looked for a wallet just yet. I was just talking to my friends about it. Well, if this has ever happened to you, you have probably led to a very natural question. That question being, are our phones listening to us? This is going to be the focus of today's speech. And the short answer to it is no. Your phone is not listening to you through a microphone to recommend you different things. However, your phone does know what you want and when you want. And the way this happens is both interesting and personally a little frightening. But before I explain to you how this happens, I want to give you some context about how the internet works. Well, when you're surfing the internet, there is two main things that are happening. First, your computer is making requests to a server. Let's say you want to access Facebook.com, right? Well, your computer is going to send a request for the Facebook website to a server. A server is nothing more than a small computer that is owned by the company that has all of the information that you need to load a website inside of your own laptop, right? Well, you request for Facebook, and the server is going to respond with, again, all of the data that you need to load Facebook into your computer. So far, so easy. So let's take it a step further. Let's say you want to log into Facebook. Well, you're going to, once again, send a request with your login information. The server is going to look at it, and if your information is correct, it's going to send back the page that you need after you log in. Except, once this information is sent back to you, it comes with a little note attached. Well, what does this note say? This note says something along the lines of, this person is logged in. Now, after Facebook sends you back this packet, your computer is going to make all of the requests with that same note. So let's put an example. You want to access your friend list. Well, you're going to make the request. And when you make the request, that little note is going to come attached. Now, these notes is what we know as cookies. Now, I'm not referring to the ones you eat, but rather internet cookies, right? And if we want a more specific definition of this, the company Cloudflare provides us with it. It says something like this. Cookies are small files of information that a web server generates and sends to a browser. Okay, that's pretty broad. So let's just stick with this. These are little notes that we're using, but we don't need to stop at logged in for these notes. I can add any kinds of notes. I can add notes about what kind of posts you're liking, where you're liking these posts from. You see where I'm going? Well, if you don't, Maria Cataleta does explain what's going on in an article called "The Fragility of Human Rights Facing AI." And she says something like this. Every time we put information into the net, these little segments are used to paint a picture of who we are, our tastes, beliefs, movements, and so on. Well, what she's trying to say here is within all of these little notes that the server can add at any time, I can make an image of who you are, the places you frequent, the people around you, the trends around those areas, and then I can use that information for some pretty interesting stuff. But if you don't quite see the problem with this, let's talk about some real world application of this information. This information is simplified and is run through an AI mechanism to find out exactly what a person might like. This is used to predict your behavior. So, for example, let's say you didn't quite search for the wallet yet, but you did look at one or two videos of wallet unboxing or interesting wallets. So now the algorithm knows that you might buy a wallet. So this doesn't need to stop at purchases, right? I can use this with anything, right? I can reinforce opinion. I can hide content and push other content based on the biases of my company. This is not something new at all. And this is said on the latest report of the possible threats of inadequate governance of personal data by Susan Aronson. Right? She's telling us that personal data has always been used to influence people. We know what propaganda is, but because of AI and new technologies, this is done in a massive speed and in a massive industry, right? So we need to be very careful because what we feels like free choice, for example, buying a wallet can become guided by guided algorithms. This is very important because maybe you didn't want to buy that wallet, but rather since I suggested it to you, you might as well buy it, right? We need to keep track of these things. So Let's tackle another question. What can we do about it? Well, it's very important that we understand that we cannot fully stop this. Okay. Some of the services that we're using will require us to accept some type of data collection before we continue to use it. So, how about we try to reduce data collection? We can do the following. We can block cookies. A lot of websites are going to ask you if you want to allow cookies. Go ahead and click that block button, right? We can limit app permissions in your iPhones. A lot of the apps are going to ask if they can track you. There's an option for you to say no to that. Go ahead and click that. You can control location access. There is no reason why WhatsApp needs my location at all times if I only need to share it for 1 or 2 hours, right? And lastly, we can set private accounts. So if a company requires you to allow data collection to use their servers or their services, why make public accounts that would let other companies come and take the information for free? This is very important, people, because protecting your privacy is not about keeping hiding something that's wrong. It's about keeping control of your personal choices and freedom. Thank you very much.